Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to The Discriminating Gamer, the only board game review show that burns buildings down, splits families in two, puts people on streets. Ladies and gentlemen, do you like that, Catan? Well, today we're going to take a look at another expansion. This is Catan, Explorers and Pirates from Mayfair Games. Catan, Explorers and Pirates from Mayfair Games is another expansion to this game, which has, of course, the regular expansion for 3 to 4 players. You can also buy, of course, the extension for 5 to 6 players. Now, this game looks kind of similar to some of the other expansions, but it plays very differently. Essentially, within the rulebook, there are 5 different expansions, and they gradually kind of introduce new rules and new ideas throughout the game. Now, I've just played a few of these scenarios. I haven't played them all, so I'm just going to kind of lightly go over the basic differences and then briefly explain some of the concepts here. So first of all, one of the big differences is the map is different. Essentially, you're going to have kind of a big base island on one end of the map, and then you're going to have kind of 2 smaller islands that can be explored. And in fact, at the beginning of the game, they are placed face down. Their tiles are face down. You have to discover those tiles in order to exploit them. Now, every player begins, of course, on that first island with a settlement and a road, but they also begin with a harbor and a ship with a settler unit on it. You don't have cities in this. You have the settlements, and then you have kind of the harbors. Now, the ships are kind of reminiscent of Seafarers of Catan, but it's really a different mechanic here. Essentially, some of the other differences, of course, are you don't have the development cards, you don't have longest road, biggest army, that sort of thing here. That doesn't exist in this version at all. You do have gold, and gold is going to play a very important part of this game as well. So you roll for production just like you do in an ordinary game of Catan. The difference here is there is no robber, so you don't have to worry about that. But if you do roll a 7, still everybody has to discard if they have more than 7 cards. So essentially, you roll the die, you activate resources, you get the cards. But if you don't get a resource, if one of your settlements didn't activate, you're going to get 1 gold piece. Now this is important because during the trading phase, which comes after the production phase, you can trade 2 gold pieces for any 1 resource you want. You can also trade at a 3-to-1 for any resource that you've got. So there's a little more leeway here into getting the kinds of resources you need in order to do the things you want to do, as opposed to traditional Catan. Now, you've got these ships with the settlers on it, and they start that way. But later in the game, you can build more ships, you can build more settlers. You build the settlers simply by paying for a settlement, but instead of actually building a settlement, you simply put a settler unit on a ship. That is a settler ship now. Now, as it moves, it can go to the new areas, it can explore. If it touches one of the undiscovered tiles, it flips over, you immediately get one of those resources, but your turn ends. But at some point, what you can do is essentially take that settler unit off and turn it into a settlement. Now suddenly you have a settlement on another island. Now, that's basically it. Now, in the first scenario, you essentially are just going to 8 points. So it's very similar to Catan with this idea of you're trying to get across the sea in order to exploit things. Now, again, in Seafarers where you have ships, you build kind of these ship convoy lines, almost like roads. Here, you're actually physically moving a ship from space to space, from kind of intersection to intersection. You can have 2 ships of any nationality on a particular space at a time, and you can move through ships. You just can't end on a space that has 2 ships there already. Now, as you progress in the scenarios, you're going to get other units. You're going to get, for instance, the crew unit. The crew, they're kind of little units. You can actually fit 2 of them onto a ship, and you're going to need them to meet some of the objectives in some of the later scenarios. You may also have kind of some spice that you can transfer and trade with, and you can carry those on the ships. And then also, too, of course, you will be introduced to pirate ships. Essentially, you roll a 7, you can put your pirate ship out there to kind of interdict and block other ships and kind of play havoc with them until somebody else rolls a 7, and they can put their pirate ship out on the board. Scenario 2 deals with these pirate layers. You are actually going to find these kind of pirate bases hidden in some of these new territories. You've got to go and take those out. Scenario 3 is a Fisherman Enterprise, where essentially you're trying to go to get the most fish. And then the third one, of course, is spices, where you're attempting to kind of monopolize spice trades. And finally, of course, the last scenario is the Explorers and Pirates. It kind of throws a lot of these things together. Now, progressively, there's more and more victory points you're going for. The last scenario, I think, is like 17 victory points. So you're trying to collect the most victory points in each of these scenarios, and when you do that, the first one to reach the scenario objective wins that particular scenario in Catan, Explorers and Pirates. So again, I haven't played all of the scenarios here. I've just played a few of them, and again, I like it. I think this is a fun expansion to Catan. I think it adds something new. Again, if you're somebody that really likes your Catan and you like to mix it up, you're going to have a lot of fun with this expansion. You'll want to get it. Again, if you're a more casual player of Catan, it's just something to break out when the friends come over who aren't really board gamers, or maybe you're just trying to introduce people into kind of the new genre gaming. Standard Catan's probably enough. But if you're hardcore and you like more options, you like more ways to play, again, you will want to pick this one up. I enjoyed it. I think if I still have to point to my favorite expansion, if you're just going to pick up one, still, I've played them all now, and I think my favorite remains Seafarers of Catan. I don't know, there's just something about Seafarers I really enjoyed. I like this one, I like the others, but there's just a special place in my heart for Seafarers. So that's kind of my recommendation. If you like Catan a lot, if you really do, go ahead and pick up Catan, Explorers, and Pirates. You'll get a kick out of it. If, on the other hand, like I say, you're more a casual gamer, you may want to try this one before you buy it. Thank you once again for joining us today on The Discriminating Gamer. As always, we ask you to please leave a comment for us on YouTube, on Board Game Geek, on our Facebook page, or on thediscriminatinggamer.com. We ask you to please like us on Facebook and subscribe to us on YouTube. We are The Discriminating Gamer. Now, also, I just want to mention briefly that Asmodee has recently purchased the English language rights to Catan. So Mayfair, I apparently will no longer be publishing Catan. And that's kind of sad. It's kind of an end of an era. Mayfair is a great company. They produce some wonderful games, and Catan has kind of been their flagship. So best of luck to both Mayfair Games and Catan, and looking forward very much to seeing where this company and this game are going in the future.
Please somebody help me on my feet again, and I don't know where I'm going, and I don't know where I've been. Please somebody help me on the solid ground. It's a long time, and I'll be dying. Once a year I wind up in the band.
One.
We supervillains may be evil.
Supervillains?
Villains?
Supervillains!
It's like a hero and a villain.